Get used to you not being
We're
there.
going to start our meeting. Good evening. Today is Tuesday, March 12th. Welcome to the Chelmsford Conservation Commission meeting. We are here on telemedia, and we're being televised live. If you are on, we have a nice big picture of our colleague Peter Spahn on the Zoom, on the picture. He's dialing in on Zoom, so we do have 6 people on the commission present here today. As I said, we are on telemedia, Chelmsford Telemedia. We are live, so you are being recorded. This will be on their site as we go forward. Let's start with the report of the Planning Board liaison, Mr. Chris Lavalley from the Planning Board.
Good evening. So this week we are going to be having our second public hearing on the MBTA zoning, potentially taking a vote on that before we start presenting to Select Board and Finance Committee. If we don't end up voting this meeting, it'll be the following meeting that we'll be voting. 191 Chelmsford, 93 Brickkiln, and 270 Billerica are all going to be continued to the next meeting. And Hildreth Street is going to be purely traffic focused. We just received the updated plans, but we haven't reviewed them, and this coming meeting this week is only going to be focused on traffic.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything for Chris? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Nice and short. Okay. Anybody in the audience? We have time for open session for anyone who'd like to bring something up that is not on our agenda. If you have something that is of concern for the Conservation Commission. Nothing? Okay. Regulatory hearing, first one here. We have a request for determination of applicability. Michael Mazzatel, 26 Hoyt Drive. Do we have
We do.
a
We have a
notice?
legal notice, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing in room 204 at the Chelmsford Town offices on Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by property owner Michael Mazzatel for proposed work within 100 feet buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands and inland bank at 26 Hoyt Drive, further identified at Assessors Map 113, Block 431/Lot 42. The project entails demolition of existing retaining wall in poor condition, followed by construction of 2 new retaining walls with stairs, removal of the existing shed, installation of a new shed, new walkway/patio, an irrigation system, planting of vegetable gardens, native shrubs, and ground cover. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for reading that. And do we have a representative from the applicant here? Yep, come on right up, and why don't you tell us, why don't you just tell about your project and what the approach is? If I want to remind the commission, this applicant was before us about a year ago, just as a question on what the approach should be. So here we are with engineered drawings, and go ahead.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Mike Mastel. Here's the everything in plan view. If you go to I guess you guys can take a look here, but the main objective of the project is to install a new shed and install 2 new retaining walls and 2 new sets of stairs, and also a patio at the top of the walls. That's the main objective. You can see it a little clearer if you go to the next page in section view. You have the existing slope in gray, and at the top right of the page in gray is the existing retaining wall that's in poor condition. It's falling over in certain places, and the existing slope has some grass in it, but it's relatively unvegetated, and it's kind of eroding away. So the objective is to make it nicer and retain the earth better and prevent sediment runoff into the nearby pond, which is Russell Mill Pond. I think the following photo has the following one has the photo. You can kind of see the wall falling over and the steep slope in need of some work. And so I'm requesting a negative determination, and I hope you guys consider this as a improvement to the area bordering the pond, preventing runoff, and just generally improving the area surrounding the Russell Mill Pond.
Okay, David, do you have comments? I think you've been to the site.
Yes, I've been there a couple of times. So just looking at this plan, Mike, so the red X's are the 25-foot setback,
Yep.
right? So there is a slight encroachment in the 25-foot, no disturb. But I think overall this will improve existing conditions, or at least prevent future deterioration in existing conditions. Spoke to Mike about a couple of conditions or additional things to do. One is to just do a simple drainage system for the shed. Where we just put in a couple of gutters, I guess, draining into a rain barrel that you can then use in the garden, and then just the other thing was to do planting, do some native plantings of the slope between the top of the slope and the edge of the water, and which I think would definitely be an improvement to existing conditions. So I think it's in addition to standard conditions. So I think this certainly can be a negative determination.
Okay, thanks, David. Chris, do you want to?
I'm good.
You got any questions?
No, I mean, I'm good. I think this looks good.
Mark?
I'm wondering, what did you change from last year to this year, other than the drawings? That's,
Yeah, that's about it. I think I added the shed. I want to put the shed there. I think I added a set of stairs. Maybe change the layout of the wall a little bit.
can you tell me where the shed is?
It's at the bottom
Oh,
left
that's
there.
hard for me to read, sorry.
Yeah.
That's 10 feet from the edge of the water?
It's at least 10 feet. It's about 14. It'll be 14 feet away.
It's going to be on piers, not going to be any excavation.
Okay.
And just going to be storing things like bicycles and nothing hazardous or no chemicals.
And the slope on there is a 2-to-1 slope, you said?
The current condition is a 2-to-1 slope, correct?
And it's going to be the same, consistent, or?
And proposed, it'll be mostly retaining walls. There'll be a little slope in between the two retaining walls.
But it makes it easier for you to maintain it?
Yep.
Okay. No, I'm good.
Bill?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
John?
I'm good with it. An improvement.
Okay, Peter?
Yeah, one question is, so the shed, I apologize, I can't see the drawing on the small screen. Is the shed 14 feet from the water?
It's 14 feet from the top of the bank. It's even further from the water.
Oh, okay. And Dave Coons, how far is that shed from the actual water, the pond,
You
roughly?
probably could add another 5 feet to that, at
So
least.
20 feet?
Yeah.
So I'm just asking this question, and I'll let the fellow commissioners decide or debate, but is that our policy to allow sheds within the, help me out here, David, is it a 25-foot no disturb that applies here?
Well, yeah, it is just nominally a 25-foot no disturb setback from the wetlands. This, this does encroach a little bit into that. I mean, the commission did recently approve a shed for Mr. Johnson up on Freeman Lake. That was within the 25-foot no disturb. I think it was actually a little bit larger than this one, I'm not sure. But it was under the same circumstances where he wasn't going to be storing anything, dangerous or hazardous.
Right. And I assume that, David, you recommended to Mike the shed be on piers because it's in a sensitive habitat area?
No, I did not. He's a PE. He came up with that on his own. But it certainly is good in the sense that it won't require any excavation. So.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Good idea, Mike. Thank you. No more questions.
Okay, so any further discussion? This is an open meeting to the public. Is there any public input or any public concern? I don't see anything.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve this.
Close the hearing
Oh,
first.
yep. I recommend that we close this hearing.
Motion to close the hearing by Chris Garahan.
Second.
Second by Bill Vines. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Peter, did you just show your
yeah.
hand? Yes.
Sorry.
Aye,
Aye.
yes, okay. It's unanimous, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend, now the hearing's closed, that we approve the project with a negative, is it 3 determination? It's in a buffer zone?
Yeah, -3. Correct.
-3 determination with some, with our standard conditions in addition, as we discussed earlier, we'll have some drainage for the shed, some gutters, a rain barrel to facilitate good drainage, and then we also have some native plantings on the slope.
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
Do we need to waive the 25-foot? Is it within the 25?
Yes, slightly.
So we should waive that?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
probably do
yeah,
that.
you could do that.
Yeah. And additionally, that we waive the 25-foot setback.
Because it's on piers.
Because it's on piers and there's going to be no adverse environmental impact.
Second.
Second, okay, motion by Chris, second by Bill. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Peter, yes, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
You'll-
I'll let you know when the paperwork's ready to pick up.
Thanks, Ed. Okay. Next one is, sorry. I'm on the wrong page
191.
here, yeah. Okay, 191 Chelmsford Street, and Casey Pereira is here representing the applicant. This is continued from January 23rd. So where are we? What are we talking about here?
Hello, Casey Ferrara with Howard Stein Hudson. So to be honest, we don't have too much of an update as far as site civil goes. Right now, we're kind of in the planning process. They have a traffic peer review occurring. We have closed out all drainage concerns with DPW. I've provided that letter to David. We did get the wetland peer review back as of, I believe, yesterday, David, and they seem to agree with the wetland line that we have delineated. They did have some recommendations adding the setbacks, the local and state setbacks to the existing conditions plan. We can certainly do that. We do show them all on our design plan, so they are all there for your review. They just weren't on the existing conditions plan, and we can definitely add that. I have provided with you the last set that was provided to planning board. I believe when I did my last presentation, that is what I actually presented to you, even though it wasn't what you received. But I did present because I wanted to make sure that you and planning were looking at the same set of projects. So now that I provided that to David, so you have that in your file as well.
So just want to confirm, Casey, so the most recent revision is the February 6th, correct?
So you guys do have the most recent. We are looking at maybe some updates for landscape. Planning was a little concerned with the size of the trees when we replaced them, removing some mature trees and replacing them with younger trees, smaller caliper. I've reviewed a little bit with my landscape architect, and I kind of need to do a little bit more. He has some concerns about replacing smaller caliper installations with larger caliper installations because they don't take as well and it can stunt their growth. So we kind of want to find a medium and see how we can satisfy planning board, but also make sure that the trees grow and flourish. So beyond that, we are awaiting the next planning board meeting. I believe it's March 27th, and at which time we'll hopefully have the traffic peer review back and be able to close out planning board in an ideal world.
Okay. David, do you have anything to add to this?
No,
Concerns?
no, not particularly. I think the commission could close the hearing tonight. I would recommend that it be kept open while I start drafting an order of conditions. Again, commission members can let me know any special conditions, particularly related to stormwater, that the commission members would like included. So that's what I would suggest is, keeping it open until the next meeting.
Yeah, I would rather see the order of conditions before we close the hearing. That'd be my preference.
Bring questions.
Yeah, sure.
Specifically. Peter brought something forward I wasn't aware of. He sent it to me. On the, if you could help me out with this, Peter, I'm still new at learning this with the wells, monitoring wells there. That's something that you looked at and kind of recommended for the not so much as just the stormwater, but the water that comes out of the car wash. 'Cause
Monitoring wells? Proposed monitoring wells, Peter?
Mark, you want me to jump in, Mark?
sure, I wish you would.
Yeah, Carl, I had a couple of comments. Do you want me to just give a super quick summary of those comments?
Sure.
Okay, so starting with Mark's point, hi Casey, how you doing?
Hey, Peter.
The comments I have fall in a couple of broad categories, and we don't necessarily need to go through all of them, but the first was, as I took a really close look at the design, and Casey, please stop me if I read the wrong plan. But here's my logic. This car wash is discharging to the Zone 2 wellhead protection zone.
The car wash itself or the site?
Well, the site.
Correct.
Oh, let me keep going. Yeah, correct me if I'm not accurate on the engineering side. And secondly, we're learning that wax has PFAS in it, which is logical because PFAS is kind of like Teflon. And there is an emerging concern in the environmental community, outside of Chelmsford, that car washes might be a source of PFAS. So what Casey and the applicant have designed is a closed system with a discharge to the sanitary sewer, so that's great. But what I found was, I believe, Casey, on the exit of the car wash, there are some storm drains to collect any water that might be located there at the exit of the car wash.
Correct.
And those storm drains are storm drains, so they connect to the stormwater system on site.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, our friend PFAS, but perhaps other chemicals that we don't yet know about, are highly mobile. So my thought is, and again, if I'm missing something, please tell me, but when we all go to a car wash, a drive-through, when you leave on a busy day, there's often a little bit of water on the ground. I mean, I know the intent is to dry the car, but that water on the ground, if it is in fact there, presumably contains wax residue, and it would be collected and directed to the storm drain system. And I think we all understand now that PFAS isn't really captured by most of the stormwater treatment systems. Those treatment systems are primarily designed for other pollutants. So the question I had was, is there a risk, perhaps on a busy day or a rainy day, that trace amounts of PFAS could end up into the stormwater system and perhaps migrating into the Zone 2 wellhead protection zone and contributing to the town's PFAS problem. So, I mean, I have some ideas about that, but if in fact that is the design, I wanted to flag that as something I'd recommend.
Well, let me
Y'all look-
respond real quick. So this somewhat came up in the planning board process, and there's a couple things. First, we have confirmed with the distributor of all the products of the car wash that all products that they use are going to be PFAS-free. So there isn't a risk of anything getting off the vehicles and getting into the storm drain systems and releasing PFAS that way. Additionally, this car wash is fully automated. You cannot leave before the car wash is done. Most car washes, you drive out on your own, you go nice and slow so that you can have the blow dryer blow the car off. But in this system, you are not released until the vehicle is done. So the intention is that there is no residue, no water, nothing dripping off the vehicle upon its release from the system.
That sounds like a really good plan. Carl, I have a couple of other recommendations on the stormwater O&M plan, which includes some recommendations on something known as the illicit substance discharge list that belongs in the pollution prevention plan. You know, that's part of the O&M plan, and there is a placeholder in the applicant's submittal. We could handle that if we could come up with a permit condition, Dave Coons helped me out here, that required some sort of documentation of the manufacturer's data to be submitted annually with that O&M report to confirm that somebody hadn't switched in PFAS containing wax.
So you're talking about
I
internal
like,
products.
I like what you said, Casey, but my thinking is I would think the town would want some assurance down the road that, you know, the wax hadn't been changed out.
Yep.
So, Carl, I don't know how much time you want to spend on this, and Dave Coons, you and I haven't talked, but I do have a whole bunch of different comments that could either be addressed by modifying the O&M plan, or maybe they could be addressed with permit conditions, and I'm not sure which path the commission would like to go tonight.
Well, why don't you email those to me, Peter? Can you do,
Okay.
could you do that? And then-
Yeah, and Casey, by the way, you're probably wondering what the heck I'm talking about, and I assume, David Coons, you'll decide. I assume we could share those with you, but there's a couple, I won't take a lot of time, Carl, but there's a couple of things that I would recommend, and one example is the Stormwater Handbook says the long-term pollution monitoring plan should have procedures for avoiding illicit discharges. And those procedures are things like good housekeeping, how do you store material, how do you do routine inspections, how do you handle spills, you know, how do you maintain lawn gardens and use of fertilizers. And the current document, the current O&M plan that was submitted doesn't provide any procedures for any of these topics. And that ties into what we just said about the wax, you know, a procedure to make sure you don't have PFAS wax. So Dave Coons, you know, that kind of thing could be addressed in a permit condition, I think, or we could give the applicant an opportunity to actually put it in the O&M manual because that's where it belongs.
Well, it's really a
So-
long-term pollution prevention plan.
Which
Yeah,
we did
and-
include
and-
in the last submission.
What's that?
We did include a long-term pollution prevention plan in the last submission. It was in addition to the previous O&M plans that you've seen.
Right.
But Peter, I will go back into it and review for procedures. I believe we did put procedures in the latest one, but if we did not, we'll add it.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah,
like a good
and-
approach.
Yeah, and Casey and Dave Coons, again, I'm not sure what process the commission wants to follow, but I think it would be great to, let me just say one more thing. And again, Dave Coons, I don't know if we require this in our standard order, but my thinking is that these O&M plans ought to be a standalone document that sits at the facility. And so in that regard, what I'm really recommending is the actual document, the actual O&M plan and the long-term pollution monitoring plan end up being a standalone document that is there in the operator's control room. and lays all this out. So it probably would be stronger from the town's point of view to have my list, if everyone agrees, put my list of stuff in that O&M plan rather than a permit condition. And Dave Coons, I'm not sure how to approach that, and,
Right, if it's in a permit condition, it disappears in a few years. Yeah,
Well, unless it's a
Yeah.
perpetual condition.
yeah.
But no, I think it's better to as far as possible, handle this in advance, Peter. So if you want to email those to me, I can forward them to Casey, or email them to Casey directly and just CC me.
Yeah.
You know, however you
Yeah.
want to handle it. It sounds like you've, written these out.
yeah,
Always thought
and
about
again, just to wrap this up for everybody, I don't think what's on my list is crazy talk. We can debate the individual ones, but most of it's right from the stormwater handbook.
And if you
So
could
that-
include those references, if you could cite those references, that would be great.
I'm not gonna do that, that's too much time to cite all the references, I just read through it and wrote them down. I'll let Casey, if it's gonna go to Casey, I'll let you.
He'll know.
Excellent.
Crazy.
He's familiar with them.
All
Okay,
right. Thank you.
thanks,
I'm
Peter.
done.
All right, then I think we're at a point where, Casey, do you have anything else you want to add?
Nope, but I believe you do have to finish going around the commission to ask if they have anything else, so.
Yeah, so, any more questions?
No, he said what I was gonna say, only better.
Yeah, do you have anything else?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Bill?
I'm good.
John, okay.
Carl, let me just, kind of jumped over me, but.
Oh, I thought I started with you. Okay, sorry.
Oh, I jumped in, sorry.
Sorry, Chris.
No, I just wanted to note that the peer review, I thought the peer review was very good from Susan MacArthur, and it was good. She confirmed the
Wetland line?
Yeah, the wetland lines, and it's good that all that was
Yes.
good. So I think from protecting those resources, good to have the confirmation on the peer review, so it's good.
I just did have one question.
Sure.
Who's designing the wall, the retaining wall?
Don't have well, we have structural engineers on our staff, but we have not hired that out yet.
It's not gonna be a block wall, it's gonna be a manufactured wall.
Hasn't been designed yet, but,
Okay.
if you don't want a block wall, we can talk about that.
Oh, no, I'm just
It
saying,
could end up being a block wall with, tiebacks and whatnot,
Yeah.
but I'm not a structural engineer, I can't design it.
yeah, all right.
Do you want to see the plan for the wall?
No,
once-
I'm fine. No, I think they're gonna do a good job.
So Carl, one last thing, just, I think.
Bigger the block, though.
The questions from Peter flowing into the agent, that's good, but I think I know I'd be interested, maybe others might be interested,
Yeah.
so I'd have it flow into Dave, and then have David maybe share those with us, because I think we'd all get value out of that.
Yep. Either Peter, you send them to all of us, or send it to Dave and he'll share.
Yeah, and by the way, Carl, for the record, I did send out an email to a couple of us with these comments, but I'll dress this thing up so it's easier
Okay,
for Casey and the applicant to understand what I'm talking about.
okay,
So it might take me a couple of days to do that.
okay. All right. Thanks. So I
Oh,
think,
Carl,
yeah,
I just want to say, to Casey and the applicant, I mean, really appreciate your willingness to work with this commission and I guess the planning board on some of these, environmental things like the planting and whatnot. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Peter.
yep, good. Okay, I'll take a motion. I think we're continuing for 2 weeks? Yeah.
I move that we continue to our next meeting on March 26th.
Motion from Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter says aye. I see the hand, so it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Casey. Appreciate it.
Have a great night, guys.
Okay, next up, we are on, continued from the last meeting, 93 Brick Kiln Road.
So I did receive a request for a continuance on that one, pending the applicant's review of the hydrogeological study that was submitted. So
Okay.
there was a request for a 2-week continuance as well.
Okay, so we're looking at, out 2 weeks on that?
Yeah, March 26th.
Peter, you have a question?
Yeah, David, I meant to ask you offline. Can you just give us a little bit, not a lot, a little bit more? There is a hydrogeo study done that's out there that we'll see? Is that what you're saying?
That's my understanding from the applicant, yes. I don't think I have a copy of that. or it may be that it was, actually, I believe it was the attorney that forwarded the request, so I'll clarify with her exactly what it is that they're reviewing.
Okay, and I heard through the grapevine that they did find some things in the testing that was done. Is that what this report talks about?
I believe so. I believe so.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
okay. And we don't have a copy, we think we don't have a copy of that.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So I will take a motion to continue this for 2 more weeks to the March 26th. Chris?
So moved, Mr. Chairman, to continue to our next meeting of March 26th.
Second.
Motion from Chris, second from Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Peter's hand goes up, so we're on there. Thank you very much. And next up, we have 10 Hildreth Street, and I see Mr. Goudreau and Mr. Cowell here, so
Good evening.
let's start. Good evening.
For the record, Brian Goodrow with Hancock Associates, along with Dave Howell, our senior ecologist at Hancock Associates. So between last hearing and this evening, it was requested that we stake out specific things on site and conducted a site walk. We did so, yesterday? Yesterday. With David, kind of walked him through what we found on site. We did not have an opportunity to issue the fully revised plans, but a couple of days, we'll be getting that out to the commission. So again, thank you for your patience on that. And then, I don't know, David, if you'd like to summarize the site walk?
Sure. So I think there were 3 main concerns that we discussed during the site visit. The first one was whether or not the wetlands down here just to the south of the site, which actually aren't on the property, but the buffer zone extends into the property. Whether there's a vernal pool or vernal pools in those wetlands, in the sense in particular whether amphibians are using them for breeding. And if so, then the buffer zone would presumably be at least a portion of the upland habitat for those critters. So I think there was agreement that it looked like there's at least a possibility that there could be a vernal pool or vernal pools down in the wetland, but that we did a brief search for egg masses, didn't see any. But it's early yet, so I think there's agreement that should keep an eye on it for at least a few weeks. Fair to say there was agreement on that. So I think I'm certainly going to recommend that there be a continuance. That among one of the reasons why while we survey for vernal pool species there. I believe I have permission from the landowners to do that, but I will definitely reconfirm that with them. The second issue we discussed was the extent of afforestation of the buffer zone, and that's why I had asked the tree line as shown on the plan be staked. I think there was agreement that maybe what's shown on the plan really isn't completely representative of what's out there. Like the actual tree line is probably a little bit less extensive than what's shown. Having said that, my personal opinion is that the buffer zone is still sufficiently wooded and has a thick enough layer of leaf litter that certainly, most of it, 90% plus of it could be, I think would be good upland habitat for vernal pool species, assuming that actually there is breeding of vernal pool species going on in the wetland down here. let me, but then related to that question was, while I definitely did see, I think fairly recently cut trees, fairly recently, being in the last, 2 to 3 years, there are some of those trees that are in the buffer zone. However, I can't say that I really saw evidence of clear cutting of the buffer zone. I didn't see any stumps, and again, there was a pretty good layer of leaf litter. There is a small section of the buffer zone, and it's shown on the potential nesting site map or plan that was done. A portion of that is in the buffer zone, but I want to talk about that next after this. In connection with turtle nesting, but anyway, so I have brought up here some Google Earth photos, so aerial photos. So this is showing the site. You see the date on that is June 2019. The buffer zone to the wetlands actually looks pretty well forested at that time. Just going to then 2020, which was October of 2020, still looks pretty well forested. In 2021. If it does look like maybe there was some clearing up in this area, just sort of going on a qualitative basis, I'll toggle back and forth a couple of times. So that's October 2020, and that's October 2021. So, it does look to me like there was some tree clearing. It's just not obvious to me that that's in the commission's jurisdiction. You could think, either ask the applicant to further analyze that, or hire a peer reviewer to get, hopefully maybe a more precise, analysis. This is River Meadow Brook down here. So it's sort of hard to tell the scale from this. This says 902 feet. So I think that's the vertical and horizontal dimension. So the question is whether there was maybe any clearing done within 200 feet of the of River Meadow Brook, which obviously was not approved. I'm not sure what really to recommend on that. This would be, I guess, it would be toward potentially taking some enforcement action.
Yeah.
If there was an area that was cleared in the commission's jurisdiction. Again, it doesn't look to me like it was the buffer zone. It would be floodplain and or riverfront area.
How would that affect our current process?
Well, that's a good question. As a practical matter, you might say you want, if it's a violation, you want the violation resolved before, making a decision on the what's before the commission for this filing. It might include some restoration of the area.
Okay. So is it possible to get a peer review on this, like an aerial historical review?
Yeah, that's possible, or could ask the applicant to, maybe take a deeper dive into this, see if we can get a better sense. I guess ultimately is how the commission wants to proceed. It's probably, if the commission were to hire a peer reviewer to take a closer look at it, it would of course be at the applicant's expense. Something very similar was done for Chelmsford Lumber, the Boston Road site.
Right.
You recall, I thought that peer reviewer did a good job. So.
Any
probably do the
thoughts
same thing.
on the commission? Anybody?
I mean, I think that the project's gonna need some peer review, so I think it would
Peter's
be
got a
appropriate, you know?
Yeah, okay. Peter?
Yeah, I'd advocate a independent peer review. I think we're having some challenges in town with losing trees in these buffer zones that are considered by the state as critical flood and habitat regions. So I'd advocate taking a hard look.
I
Anyone
tend to
else?
agree with that.
Yeah. I see far too many trees. I see it every day. It's just, I mean, some are perfectly fine, but we're losing a lot of habitat, so canopy. So how would that look? How would that move forward?
Well, I'd get a proposal. I guess we can get a proposal from CEI, who did the last, and, just make sure they understand what the commission is looking for, although, again, I think it's pretty simple and straightforward and very similar to what was done before.
Just to be clear, how would you articulate that right now? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but.
Sure, no,
I guess I
I
am.
understand. I would say to do a review and analysis of historical data, in particular area photos, and probably used with the plans that have been submitted, showing the delineations of the different wetland resource areas. Try and make a determination of in the last few years, maybe going back 5 years,
Yeah, I was thinking five.
whether there has been clearing, tree cutting. Noticeable, observable tree cutting in the commission's jurisdiction.
Okay. I think that makes sense. I'm going to look to Brian. Do you have any reaction or?
Yeah, so what I would recommend, or what I would request, is that the scope get passed through us, just so that we can understand exactly what's being asked with CEI, and then if they want to assign pricing to it, I'll take it back to the applicant, and, we'll go from there. We'll have a conversation.
So you're asking to see a proposal?
I'm asking to see the scope, but if you want to have CEI price that at the same time, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I would like to do it, is to get a proposal from them that you can review and comment on, if that's
Okay.
acceptable.
Okay. Everybody else okay with that? I think that's what I was hearing from the commission, so I'm thinking that we'll take that as an action going forward. Okay?
Okay.
I think that's a good, so just to kind of state, I think what we're trying to accomplish with this is to create a baseline of the site. Yes, might be going back 4 or 5 years, but if there's something that needs to be remediated, then we want to at least understand that that's the situation. What we choose to do based on that may change, but we need to understand what's changed. Peter, yes?
Yeah, just a quick question, and Dave Coons, you can help me. I think I'm correct in that our commission has jurisdiction, or some, within 200 feet of the river and 100 feet from the wetlands and whatever. But the whole parcel is under review by Natural Heritage.
Correct.
Because of the habitat value and the fact it's on the state habitat maps. My question is, would this tree analysis be the whole site, Dave Coons?
Well, I think, yeah, just nominally the whole site would be reviewed, but the commission is really only looking for any alteration of work in its jurisdiction. Yeah, I mean, Natural Heritage would conceivably have an interest over the whole site, and whether anything was, done even outside the commission's jurisdiction. But the commission only has legal jurisdiction within buffer zones, riverfront areas, and floodplains, as well as wetlands.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is, does anyone know if Natural Heritage looks at trees when they do their analysis, upland trees that are outside of our jurisdiction?
Well, I do know from personal experience that, yeah, any proposed cutting needs to be reviewed by Natural Heritage. I mean,
What about historic cutting? Are they going to be seeking this data?
I don't know. I mean, I have, in the past had occasion to, let natural heritage know about these kinds of, activities. I've never, ever received any indication, though, from them that they're interested in something this small.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I'm looking at the plan here. We got a clearly marked 200 foot. How's it overlaid here? This is what I can't understand.
Well, yeah, that's what we, one of the things we'd be asking the peer reviewer to do.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, but we have a 200 foot line here. Can't we pick up a 200 foot line? You guys are the surveyors.
I'm sorry, what was the question? You want us to pick up
We
a
we
200
got
foot
a
line?
clearly marked 200 foot.
Correct.
Okay,
And we're showing tree line.
and we're showing, do we have something that shows that there was trees cut here?
So we're showing existing conditions. The survey was done back as a part of our ANRAD, which would have been
It's way down.
2021, around that neighborhood. So we are showing tree line as it appears at the time of the survey.
In 2021.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's right around the possible time of the.
So that's the squiggly line, John, it's the tree line.
Yeah, I can see the line, it's clearly marked right here. 200 feet,
Yeah,
So-
these double triangles are the riverfront area.
Mhm.
And this is the floodplain. So.
I think the area in question, please correct me if I'm wrong, David, would be that cleared area between the 200 foot and the other tree line.
Say that again.
that was all cleared when we walked that.
I think you're talking about this area.
Yeah, just very roughly, but I can't be any more precise than that.
Okay. John, you,
I'm just looking at this plan saying, from the picture I saw, I didn't see trees cut.
That's why I think we need some further review.
Okay.
Just can't make
All
any
right.
definite
yeah,
conclusions.
let's get some data, some engineering analysis and data. So, okay, so that's the proposal, is to have a peer review. David will work that. You'll get a proposal to the peer reviewer, get that, a copy of that to the applicant, to Brian. And, all right, and so you were going through your,
Yeah, so that was the second thing.
yes,
The
there
third.
were three, right?
The third thing, the third issue we discussed is the possible habitat or nesting area in the buffer zone, which is this. I don't know if can you see the mouse right here? So it's this portion of this potential nesting area that's in the buffer zone. Now, this is being, of course, under the Wetlands Protection Act in MESA, this is being reviewed by Natural Heritage. Actually, the whole site is, and I guess you're still waiting for their.
Approval, I mean, what's the language there?
Yeah, they basically instructed us on the revisions we need to make, that we will make in the next couple of days, which we'll reissue to you guys as well.
Okay.
But they've verbally accepted all these, it's the pathway forward.
Okay, so and then under the Wetlands Protection Act, the presumption is that, whatever natural heritage approves, then it means that there's no short or long-term adverse impacts to rare species habitat, which are the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act. However, there's the town bylaw, the local bylaw, which is, of course, separate from the Wetlands Protection Act, and the bylaw explicitly states that the commission is required to protect rare species habitat.
And
Which actually is more than just the gray area, but the gray area is the highest function and function and values of the rare species habitat, and of course it would only be the portion of this gray area that's in the 100-foot buffer zone, which again I'm circling right there. The wetland, the town bylaw regulations don't have any performance standards for the protection of rare species habitat. But I guess at this point, I would say that I'm not comfortable saying that there's nothing the commission could do under the local bylaw with respect to protecting this portion of the nesting area in the buffer zone. I think it's a matter of getting a legal opinion. To what extent does the commission have legal authority to protect this area or to require mitigation for it? So my recommendation would be that the commission, I guess, first consult with town council. Then, if town council were to say, need special counsel.
Yeah,
do
not
that.
his area of expertise, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I think that makes sense to me. We should be really clear on this and get a good, solid legal opinion on it. And that would be on what jurisdiction we have.
Yes. What legal authority does the commission have to protect this area or to require mitigation for alteration of it?
Okay.
And again, I think that's in isolation. That's completely independent of whatever the Wetland Protection Act might require, because this is the bylaw.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Right, yeah, okay. Peter, you got your hand up, yeah?
Just a quick question, David, and I realize I should know this, and I don't. I've read our town bylaw, but I don't remember. Is our town bylaw that you're quoting, does it say habitat or does it say endangered species habitat?
Oh, it says a habitat.
And I want to make that distinction. Does natural heritage only look at endangered species? Or are they looking at all habitat values in their review?
Well, they're looking at habitat values of the rare species habitat.
So my point is those are entirely different things. And we can talk, I don't know how you want to address that, but, natural heritage is doing a review. We're relying on their review, but they're only looking at rare species. I think what you're saying, David, is our town bylaw requires us to look at all habitat, not just rare species.
Well,
Correct?
I didn't explicitly say that, but yeah, that's true. And certainly the commission is well aware on another project that the commission has asked for and is being given a compensatory turtle nesting area.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
it's not a rare turtle.
Right, correct.
Right.
I mean,
I
so
think
this.
that's what Peter's trying to.
Yes, and so this does add, an additional level of, review and, decision-making, in my opinion.
Yeah, so in other words, our town bylaws that were passed in the past by town meeting specifically call for our commission to look at habitat, not just endangered species habitat, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, that's an important distinction in my mind because natural heritage is not looking at everything. It's upon us to look at whatever it is they're not considering.
Right, but I think the point is that there are conceivably different levels of performance standards for rare species habitat and non-rare species habitat.
Correct.
Okay.
But again, this is why you've been advocating our commission. I think I have this right, please correct me. But because of all that, I think you've been advocating that this commission have an independent wildlife study to guide our decision-making. Is that?
Yes, as I've looked at the site more, and have studied this map. I think this, based on the conditions out there, I think this is a pretty reasonable estimation of where turtles would be nesting if they are nesting in the buffer zone. So I at this point, I think I'm comfortable proceeding on the assumption, that there are rare turtles nesting here. And again, that's, I guess, another, request for clarification from town council, but I think let's just assume that there are rare turtles nesting here. That's coming from the applicant's own, submission.
Anything else, Peter?
I have some other comments on this project, but that's all for now on the wildlife part.
So, David, your recommendation is that we make a request to our council for a reading, I guess.
Yes, and I draft the specific questions,
Okay.
more detail than talking here.
But on our jurisdiction of this.
Yes,
Small area.
what the commission's legal authority for addressing rare
Okay.
species concerns.
All right, so we're going to try to get that resolved, and we're going to try to get that an answer quick.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't want
Well,
that to go.
Carl, important point though. Don't we want an attorney familiar with eco stuff,
Yes,
which may or may not be our town council? I don't know
Correct.
the answer to.
we're on the same page. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I mean, this is pretty much in the bug dust, so
Yeah.
you need an expert.
Yep. Bug dust, yeah. Okay.
That's all I have to say for
That's all you have to say. Where are we going here? Any more questions from?
I have a
yeah,
question.
Bill? Yeah.
Based on your site walk yesterday, I would like to, we haven't been out there for 3 years. I'd like to do a site walk based on the difference in where the trees were cut or possibly cut. I'd like to take a look at it, so just to refresh my mind. I don't know if anybody else is interested.
Yeah,
but-
we talked about it last meeting, and I realized
We did.
today that we didn't get there, didn't make it happen, but maybe we can schedule that in the next week or so. I'm seeing a lot of nodding here. I know, Peter, you're back in town in the next day or two? Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
yes,
So
that would
maybe,
be great. Thank you.
Maybe Saturday, you going to the Cape, Chris?
Not every week yet.
Okay, we'll see. We'll figure out a
Saturday might be okay.
Saturday morning,
Not,
night.
not good for me until noon,
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
or very early.
Maybe 12 o'clock. Johnny. Or maybe Sunday.
I could do it early Saturday.
Early Saturday.
Yeah, like 7.
Yeah,
Oh,
Early
I don't think we'll get Peter that early.
early Saturday.
I could wait.
Okay, let's,
7 Saturday?
7 works. John?
I'm
John,
good for
you're
7.
Up at 5 here.
Yeah, I'm good for 7.
All right. That be an issue with the homeowner?
We'll check.
Okay, all right. Brian, if you can just let me know. We'll organize that Saturday morning at 7.
I have another question that doesn't, it's not concerning the wildlife, but there's been a couple of questions, I've seen some interest in the septic designs. You have some septic tanks that are in the driveway. People are questioning whether that's an issue or not. And also the leaching fields. Can you get some information for us on when the water goes through the leaching fields, is that water considered clean when it goes into the ground?
Yes, it's going.
Because I think the septic systems are an issue because of the aquifer right there. So if you can, you don't have to do it right now, but if you want.
Okay, so your specific question is whether or
The
not.
septic system, whether the tank in the driveway is an issue, or also the function of the leaching field, and when that water enters the ground, how it's going to affect or not affect the aquifer, whether it comes out clean, is it considered clean when it's comes out of the pipes into the ground?
Sure.
Just so we have a better understanding of how that works.
So I can give a little presentation on that, just kind of how effluent flows through the system, the approach to the design, the secondary treatment that's going to be proposed because it's in the Aquifer Protection District.
Right, because I think people have concerns that the septic tanks, they're going to be large septic systems over the aquifer, whether that's going to affect that at some point, if the system fails down the road.
Yep.
So
all
I think
gov-
we have
all
an
govern-
understanding of the whole thing.
Yeah, all governed by Title V. It's
Right.
very clear in regulation.
Yep.
Peter?
Putting on my environmental engineer hat here, the real issue I see with septic systems on the Zone 2 wellhead protection area is chemicals like PFAS that is in floor wax. And again, I'm not sure what our commission's jurisdiction is, but since we're talking about septic, to me, the issue is no one can control what a homeowner dumps down the drain. And I'm actually working on another project where they have determined that the wax on the shelf at Lowe's today has PFAS in it. So the problem with a septic that I see being on top of the well system is we can't control what the homeowner dumps down the drain. And to your point, Bill, some of these pollutants do attenuate or dissipate through the soil and become not a pollution problem. But other chemicals like PFAS last forever, are highly soluble in groundwater, and they travel long distances. So again, our commission's job is protecting of groundwater. I don't know if we have jurisdiction over the septic system or not, but we are supposed to be looking at contamination of the groundwater at least, and it's going to seep, any junk is going to seep through these leach fields into the groundwater, any soluble material. So I don't know what analysis we're going to end up with here, but that is the concern that I have, and I think you'll find others that study this kind of thing have the same concern.
Okay, good points, John.
Is the 200-foot buffer clearly marked?
In the field?
Yes.
No, but it can be before Saturday.
That'd be helpful.
Okay.
We can walk in there and see where the 200-foot riverfront is, and we can determine at that time.
Okay,
Okay.
Chris?
We received a number of emails from abutters, and
Yeah.
I thought it'd be important for us to address those concerns. I mean, there's certainly some of the things we touched on already as far as vernal pools and natural heritage habitat and water quality and flooding, but I think it'd be good to make sure that we hear from those, and in a minimum, maybe we can at least summarize the content of the emails that we've received.
Yeah, we have covered some of the issues. I'm seeing some of the folks in the audience here. We have covered, we've talked about tree canopy. I know that was an issue. We're not resolved. That's a question that we have, and one of the residents has that question. There's concerns with water and flooding and the aquifer. I don't know the flooding part. I know there's been flooding there recently, but I don't know if that's really going to affect, especially with the change by eliminating the, was it lot 5 or 6 or whatever, the one that was, lot 4. So I'm not sure how much impact there is there. There's an erosion concern that came up, and we've talked about the boat and well, we haven't really talked a lot about the issue of the items that are sitting on the property that are possible pollutants. And it's not clear to me, again, sort of similar to Peter's discussion about the pollutants, what jurisdiction we have on some of the material that's sitting there, the boat, the trailer. There was an RV trailer that was there that somebody lived in at some point. What am I missing? Anything else that was in those?
I think that was probably a good list, yeah.
So, I don't know, David, do you have any thoughts or how we might want to go forward with some of these questions?
Well,
Let me ask, so we got a number of letters. I'm not sure I want to read through them all. I think I got the gist of most of them there. I'd like them to be as part of the public record, I think. That's normal procedure.
Yes, sure.
So we want to make sure, so let me just read off, there was one from Linda Carney at 17 Hildreth, there was one, actually two emails from Justin Johnson, 26 Hildreth, and one from Christy and Paul Wood at 16 Hildreth, and those are all in the last few days. We had some previous ones, and I might be missing some, but Linda also sent in December and in November, and Marcy Comtoy all the way back into October. There was one, and there was one from Ruth Luna all the way back in September. So they've been sent to us, we can make sure that all of them are part of the record.
Well, and certainly, a number of the residents are here tonight, certainly
Yep.
ask them, for, those, any continuing concerns or new concerns, and, whether they feel they've been addressed, at least to some extent, tonight.
Yeah, or at least we're going after them.
Yes.
Yeah. Peter, yeah?
I'm sorry to keep jumping in, everyone. Just a thought, and maybe we're not there yet. The flooding that is in Justin's communication with some photos, I think that flooding is outside of our jurisdiction. I think our jurisdiction is limited to the current FEMA flood maps, which we know are way out of date. So that's the flooding issue, and my thought is, I think we need to know if that flooding is coming from River Meadow Brook or the vernal pools and the wetlands, which is kind of our bailiwick, or if that flooding has to do with runoff from higher upland, washing down over the property. And I'm wondering if our engineering talent at DPW could be asked to take a look at whether it's coming from general drainage, county drainage they like to call it, as I've learned. So that'd be one recommendation. And secondly, quickly on regard to this contamination, we may or may not have authority to ask for contamination studies, but I think our Department of Health has that legal authority and requirement. And I will say, from what little I know of the site, the things like the demoed trailer and the old boat and the reports of, truck maintenance and whatnot, those are all in the environmental world considered something that needs to be looked at if you're trying to protect a water supply. And so I'm not quite sure how our commission approaches that, because we have the mandate to protect groundwater. And we know stuff is going to wash into our jurisdictional area if there is anything there.
Right.
So maybe we need to talk to the Department of Health a little, really understand where they're at on all this.
Okay.
Thank you.
David, did you have something?
I was, I do have to admit that I wasn't looking at, the junk when I was at the site yesterday. I was kind of focused on other things, but I would certainly, suggest to the commission at, the site visit on Saturday, probably planning to do this anyway, see if you can make some kind of assessment of whether that junk trash debris is in the commission's jurisdiction. And if so, I certainly ask that it be removed.
Okay.
But again, David, it's not removal that I think is of interest. It's whether there's any residual contamination, like a boat. My boat holds 30 gallons of gasoline. If the boat sits there for a long time, I know my boat would develop a leak.
Well,
Right?
that's, I think that's probably then a Phase 121E,
Correct.
which I think town council, correct me if I'm wrong, has already said that the town does not have legal authority to require.
Okay.
That's not what I thought the letter said. I thought it said the planning board didn't have authority, but I could be wrong.
Okay, well, I could be wrong
That's
as
a
well.
question to the planning board.
I think, listen, I think there's an important nuance that maybe we don't want to spend our time on, but what I understand, and I might be wrong, so we need to talk to the health department. My understanding is the health department believes there needs to be evidence of contamination. And I used to do this for a living. In the environmental world, old boats and people seeing truck maintenance going on in a haphazard way, and a trailer demolished on site without consideration of whether there's contaminants in that trailer and that junk pile are all evidence of potential for contamination. And what the 21E rules, what's normally done in these sites is once there's that evidence of a potential, you don't go look at it because you can't see this stuff. You get a trained expert to come out and take some samples. It's not expensive. And if there's a problem, usually all that happens is you got to dig up a little bit of contaminated dirt and then you're clean.
Okay.
Usually it's not a big deal unless you leave it alone and it washes into the water or the groundwater.
So David, maybe we can look back at that note from the town council on 21E and see what we can do there. But I'd like to see us get, and we'll look at this on Saturday as well. But I take Peter's point that it's not just get rid of the stuff that's there, it's that we can see, but get rid of, make sure that we have clean soil for the water. Okay. I'd like to ask if there's any more questions from the commission. If we would like to open it up to the public. As I said, we did get your letters, so we've got those concerns. I think we're addressing the concerns through our various actions going forward, but I'd be very happy to let anyone else come up and speak, either to underscore something or just make sure, please, you know the drill, state your name and your address.
Paul Wood, 16 Hilda Street. I know you said you got my letter of concern there, which I appreciate you reading and taking the fact, and you mentioned some of these sections of the bylaws I cited in there, but I appreciate that. But and I also appreciate the fact that, I feel like I'm getting feedback. You went out and looked at the vernal, it talked about possible vernal pools, and I don't think these, could I just give you these pictures and pass around? This was in October. I dated them, did some things, showing some, salamanders, some frogs, and this was late October, leaves on the ground, there is life in those pools, there's abundant life. I live at 16, like I said, it's deafening in the spring, And the other thing I thought of interest I want to add, these actually I presented to the planning board. I only have a few copies. Might look a little odd, but I hope you understand my point. This was the top of Hilda Street. There was a single-family home. It is now 97, 95 Hilda Street. It's a large duplex at the top of Hilda Street. Right behind his house is Nate, who isn't here tonight. When Nate moved in, he couldn't see that single-family home. Very similar slope probably to what that grade is behind those 4 and 5. They removed all the trees, built a very large duplex. If you look through the pictures, he spent $10,000 to mediate that problem. Because once they removed all the trees, all that roof line, all that driveway, diverted all the water down the thing, he floods. He'll never get it. He said he'll never solve it. He can control it now. I just have that same fear. You strip those 4 and 5 down to the BVW, and with lawns, they're just going to rush water. It's going to rush right into that BVW and change it forever. That's just,
We get that.
So if you pretend Nate's house is the BVW, that's what's going to happen. That's, I just want to, point of interest, sort of.
So that's a lot of water.
Yeah.
Sure is. It sure is.
Yeah. Yeah, you tell Nate, I feel bad. Nate's a great guy, has 3 young kids. I mean, he's always working in his yard, and he has a birthday party this Saturday if you want to go. But that's my concern, like I said.
I'm sorry, what number is that?
He lives at number 4, so if you go there Saturday, and you look to the left, the first house on the left, you're going to see that big granite piling he built.
Okay.
And that, you can see the slope of that yard, which is going to be very similar to the slope behind 4 and 5. You strip all that land behind and make lawns, it's going to rush into the BVW and just devastate it.
But when did this flooding start? Did this start recently?
After they built the duplex.
Bernard?
Yeah. No, this is Boston Road. Billerica Road. When you go down Hilda Street, Nate's the first house on the left. The duplex is on Billerica Road. That's, when you look at the pictures, you see the back of it, that's Billerica Road up in the front of it. Yeah, so they stripped all that land, like I said, very similar duplexes. And the grade is not that, it's probably very similar to the grade. When you go out there and do your site walk, you're gonna see the grade goes right down to the pools. And it's gonna be the same kind of thing. You're gonna get a rush of water. I mean,
But this flooding didn't happen before.
No, once he stripped all the trees, he couldn't see that house, the single-family house. I will tell you, I couldn't see it when I moved in. They knocked down the house, built that huge duplex, took out all the trees in the backyard, and put a nice lawn in, all that, roof line, gutters, driveway, diverts all the water. Yeah, they did put it twice, and so, I'm just saying, that's a concern, just consider, that's all, how it's
Yep.
gonna affect the BVW, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
That was an older ranch house, wasn't it? The existing?
Yes.
Is it the same builder?
No. It was Harvey.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Christy Wood from 16 Hildreth Street. And I know we sent a letter in. And I just wanted to point out, and I know some of these things were already pointed out by Peter tonight. What?
You can do your own.
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Sorry, now I just got a little thrown off here. Oh, it's okay. Sorry, I got a little thrown off. Well, we did look up some of the bylaws in Chelmsford, and in the letter, I know it mentions it, and that it does deem that the commission does have the ability and the right even to protect the wetlands and the BVW. I'm having trouble locating it right now. But in that letter, I did want to say that we did go through the bylaws and find those areas, hoping to be of help for you to know that you do have that right to do that. Also in November, I sent in a letter myself, and I don't think that it was on the permanent record, and just in case it's not. But I wanted to bring up that, first I wanted to thank you for your time and consideration. Given the proposed project for 10 Hildreth Street that is over the town aquifer and would involve work in the buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetlands, is a great concern of contamination of toxins into the town drinking water, according to the DEP CMR 10.55, the bordering vegetated wetlands, the wet meadows, the marshes, the swamps and bogs. Bordering vegetated wetlands are likely to be significant to public or private water supply, to groundwater supply, and to flood control, to storm damage prevention, to prevention of pollution, and for the protection of fisheries and the wildlife habitat. The soils and plants of the bordering vegetated wetlands remove or detain sediments, nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus, and toxic substances such as heavy metals, compounds that occur in runoff and floodwaters. Some nutrients and toxic substances that are detained for years in the plant root systems or in the soils, and others are held by the plants during the growing season and released as the plants decay in the fall and winter. The latter phenomenon delays the impacts of nutrients and toxins until the cold weather period, when such impacts are less likely to reduce water quality. Bordering vegetated wetlands are areas where groundwater discharges to the surface and where, under some circumstances, surface water discharges to the groundwater. So the profusion of vegetation in bordering vegetated wetlands acts to slow down and reduce the passage of floodwaters during the peak periods of flow by providing temporary flood water storage and by facilitating water removal through evaporation and transpiration. And this process reduces downstream flood crusts and resulting damage to private and public property. So during dry periods, the water retained in bordering vegetated wetlands is essential to the maintenance of the base flow levels in rivers and streams, which in turn is important to the protection of water quality and water supplies. So I just wanted to say that this kind of feeds off of what Peter was saying, about the potential contaminations that might already be there on the property, and the fact that if some of these plants and vegetation are disturbed, that might be doing its job, as they're supposed to, this could release and become a big problem. So with that said, I would like to request that to the commission that any necessary specific studies or testing regarding plants and roots to ensure that there will not be any toxins released into the town aquifer if plants or soils are removed or disturbed will be done as an independent study. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for the time.
We did receive that one. I missed that in my list.
Okay,
Yes. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Linda Carney at 17 Hildreth and 19 Plum. And I'm here just to offer a few comments on what was said tonight. I really appreciate that you are addressing the canopy because that's important to me. But tonight, just a few points of clarification regarding the Justin Johnson, who isn't able to be here tonight because he teaches. That was current lot number 4 that he showed you underwater. There seemed to be a question as to where that flooding was.
I'm still confused about that, so let me, so that's 4 Hildreth.
No, it's lot number 4 at 10 Hildreth.
So it's the proposed?
The proposed current lot number 4 that Justin sent in.
No, the one Justin's talking about Nate. He's talking
No.
about Nate. She's talking about.
Are you asking about the property at 4 Hildreth Street? I'm talking about lot number 10 with the proposed current building site, lot number 4.
So this is lot 4 right now,
Correct.
the proposed lot 4. So what flooding in these photos is on lot 4?
When Justin sent in the pictures of the flooding.
What Justin
Yes.
sent in.
Yeah, he sent that on last week,
Yep.
Okay, let me.
on the 6th. We have, I think there were videos on that too, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
There were.
Let me bring
Yeah.
that up.
Yeah, this is separate from house number 4.
Okay, so that's not in that email.
Yeah, it was his,
Okay.
March 6th. Yeah. Oh. It looks sideways. I don't think that's the right email though, David. It was March 6th that he sent it.
Oh, okay. So
He sent one on March 10th, but also on March 6th.
So he sent a couple of videos
Yep.
on the 6th, and I'll open the photo first.
Yep. So, Mrs. Carney, you're saying that this picture here is what would be lot
4.
4?
The current on the new proposal.
Wow,
Lot 5 on the old proposal.
okay.
That whole section was taken right there at that area.
And these are just recent, I believe.
Yes, they're this month. I think he refers to 2 separate weekend storms.
And this is a new phenomenon,
Yes,
which started after again, what construction?
Well-
Or what new development?
not because of what's happening possibly because of what's happening at the top of the street at House 4 Hildreth. This is
Okay.
Lot 4
Right,
at 10 Hildreth.
right.
And it's, could be just extra rain, it could be the runoff, it could be the backup from the vernal pool area. We believe it's because of all the trees that have been cut.
Okay, so I think the new development was 95 and 97 Billerica,
Correct.
which is this right here.
That's
So-
the backyard that has the flooding at number 4.
Okay, so this is 4, I think.
Yep.
Yes.
And that shows flooding as well.
And the next house down is the McMasters, who have been having to sandbag their breezeway and their garage because of water coming in since they changed the single family to the duplex at the top of the street.
Well, I mean, that really is a perfect example of what's not supposed to happen with
Exactly.
with all of our new stormwater bylaws and regulations. So it just.
And yet it does.
It's a mystery how that could have happened, but
Okay.
anyway.
All right, should I go to my next point?
Yeah,
Okay.
continue,
Sorry,
please.
just keep things moving, thank you. As I drove out of my driveway to come to this meeting tonight, they were driving a truck that had a flatbed and a boat being moved tonight. So you may not see that boat on Saturday. But I believe there's more than one there, so you'll see some, but not the one they moved today. And as regarding the Phase 1 study, I believe the lawyer's attention was drawn to the fact that it was not the planning board or the Conservation Commission's bailiwick, but that the Board of Health did have the right to request the Phase 1 study. That's my notes, and I went back over to the meeting that the lawyer spoke, so I'm pretty sure about that. And when you go on Saturday, would you please be so kind as to take a look visually separate from the aerial photos, because there has been additional tree cutting in the last 18 months on that property. And if you look at the squiggly lines that I understand are National Heritage protected tree areas, some of them are just totally vacant. So please take a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
Appreciate your
input.
help.
Hi, I'm Jeff Carney. I live at 17 Hildreth Street. And Justin Johnson, who lives down at the end of Hildreth Street, asked us to make a comment on the flooding. He's concerned about loss of the usage of his land because of flooding. And he also mentioned that trees are dying because of the flooding. So there's going to be a loss of more trees. And for my part, out in front of my house, I've had to add gravel alongside Hildreth Street, which is a very narrow street, because of the flooding that's been washing out the side of the roadway. And I guess that's about all I have to say tonight.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Chris LaValle, Planning Board Liaison. Just wanted to clarify that the legal counsel letter to the Planning Board is attached to our minutes for tomorrow's agenda, tomorrow's agenda. And it was specifically to, our inquiry to the legal counsel was specifically about whether the Planning Board could require a Phase 1 study or a turtle nesting habitat study. And legal counsel's opinion was that we cannot require that, and that our decisions cannot be based on that. But that is
So it was narrow to the planning board?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
we can, I believe, we can also not require or request it of the Board of Health either.
Okay. Oh,
Question?
okay, so, Peter, you have a question?
The Planning Board cannot request
Sorry to
it.
jump in. Chris and Carl, we can talk later about this, but once again, I'm going to put on my environmental engineer hat. Our commission has the responsibility to protect groundwater. There is no way we can protect groundwater if we don't have the ability to request these contamination studies. And that's a bigger issue than this meeting, but I just want to say that on the record.
Yeah,
We need to.
that's not just a 10 Hildreth issue, yes.
Yeah,
It's everywhere.
I just wanted to clarify that the opinion was narrowly focused on the Planning Board's jurisdiction to request that.
And,
Okay.
yes, and I would like to add, I would just like to add for the record, I went back and looked at the planning board regs. I'd like everyone to remember, the planning board has to issue something called an aquifer protection permit. If you don't know what that is, check our bylaws. It's only one page, and that bylaw describes things like doing contamination studies and hydrogeo analyses to figure out if any contamination might reach the well field. And so, again, this is out of scope of our commission, but the planning board can't possibly determine an aquifer protection permit without the scientific data to know if the project is going to affect our drinking water. And therefore, we, I think, as a commission, need to rely on both the health department and the planning board to do the aquifer protection thing. And none of us can do that if we don't have the data.
So actually, to Peter, to your point, that decision was specific to the planning board in the subdivision control process. It was not related to the aquifer protection special permit or the site plan review, which we're not in that stage yet in the planning board. It's specifically a narrowly focused subdivision control process.
Even more narrow than?
Yes. So while we may not be able to request it in the subdivision control process, it is likely that we would be able to request it later in the special permitting process. But we haven't even gotten to that point yet.
Good. Thank you for that clarification. That would make life easier for us all.
Yeah, the planning board's purview in the subdivision control process is extremely limited.
Okay. Chris, thanks very much. Thanks, Peter, for your jumping in there.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry to get so loud, but I've been spending a lot of time on this.
Yeah, that's fine, that's good. Okay, so we are at a point where I think, I don't see any more people in line. I'm assuming there's no one online that's besides our friend Peter. So I think we're ready to move forward with continuing the hearing. I'm presuming 2 weeks.
Well, but I think we need maybe a little clarification of what can we have in 2 weeks. So can you have the fully revised engineered, and of course they have to be peer reviewed by BPW. I don't know if we can have that back in 2 weeks. But.
So I would request a continuance for 2 weeks because I think there's a number of topics that were discussed tonight that at a very minimum we'll be able to, get some clarity on.
Okay.
Yeah, although maybe not definitively. I'm thinking in particular of vernal pools. I don't know if 2 weeks
Correct.
now. But I guess there's no harm in continuing for 2 weeks. Might just have to say, I'll have to continue it for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's fine. So we're planning to hopefully visit the site on Saturday morning.
7 a.m.
Yeah, and we'll, if you don't have my email, I'll send you an email, Brian, just so you can, we can organize that and make sure that the homeowner is okay with that.
Okay.
Okay. We are looking at, I'm just trying to summarize some of the things. We're looking at a peer review with CEI, and you're going to chase that. David, what else am I missing here? The plans that we just talked about.
Yeah, to continue vernal pool surveying, and trying to get an opinion from town council, some kind of an opinion.
Yeah, and then staking the tree,
200-foot river.
the 200-foot, 200-foot.
Riverfront.
What am I missing?
Do we want to have a conversation with the Department of Health about, 21E type contamination, what their thinking is?
We can do that. Peter, if you want to do that, we can have that conversation. Start with the department before we go to the board. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we just want to understand how these pieces fit together.
Yep. And it's, again, that's not specific only to 10 Hildreth. I think we've seen enough other applications that same question keeps kind of coming up here, so.
Yeah, I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about one property, but you're right, it commented everything we've done in the last year.
I think it's more of a generic conversation as opposed to specific to this application, because we're seeing this in a number of applications. Okay. I'll take a motion then, I think, for moving this hearing, continue to the 26th.
March 26th, yeah, move that we continue to March 26th.
So moved by Chris, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Peter, thank you very much, and thank you to all the residents who came out tonight and all your good input and concern. Thank you. Okay, I think that is the end of our regulatory agenda.
Well, we got 270, I think we'll have to
That's
make a
right,
continuation on
270.
that.
I did receive a request for a continuance on that one.
Yeah.
So I'll move that we continue 270 Billerica Road out 2 weeks until March 26th.
Peter, you have a question?
Chris, I don't know, I know we're not going to discuss it, but I want everyone, I think I can say this, can I, Carl? Just an update. There has been recent communication on the DEP Has Waste website where DEP has asked the 270 applicant to do some additional testing to justify their down gradient property status request. And the applicant has submitted a letter to DEP saying that they believe they shouldn't have to do any more because the contamination is limited to the septic. And I don't think our subcommittee certainly did not reach that agreement that potential contamination is only from the septic. I think what our subcommittee determined and our peer reviewer determined is we don't know where the PFAS contamination is coming from.
So, Peter, I think that's probably, we should stop there. We're not having a hearing, discussion, but I think that's all public information, so,
right.
That's fine.
Right, that's all public, and that's the end of it. Just wanted members to know there's, another chapter in this PFAS thing.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue the hearing from Chris to March 26th, and second from Mark. So all in favor?
Aye.
The hearing is continued to March 26th. This is for 270 Billerica Road. Okay, now we are through our regulatory session. Next is the 35 Brick Kiln Road.
Yeah, nothing new to report on that. As I think I mentioned to you, Carl, the commission could consider recording the enforcement order, with the Registry of Deeds.
That's kind of a significant step.
It is, yeah.
I'm not sure I'm quite ready yet for that, but I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. It is dragging on a long time, though. This has been, I think when we first had that in front of us, it's been a year. Has it been a year?
Yeah. The enforcement order was issued in May of last year, I believe.
Well, I think
Well, I mean, I
making
think
it
it'd
forward
be-
that this, we mean business, this was gonna happen next, might be something that jumpstarts it.
Let's see what town council says. Let's see, I mean, we're not getting anywhere. Let's see what we can do from legal enforcement.
So what are you suggesting that
I would
we?
ask we get opinion from town council. What can we do at this point? What are our options? Because we want to take some action. We don't want to just let this thing drag along and do
Well,
nothing.
David's suggestion was to record the enforcement order.
I'm not sure, well, let's get from town council whether that's his preferred course of action first or not. Well, let's look at the options. That might be one of the options, but that's, we got to weigh that with other options.
Okay. David, can you make that request?
Sure.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay. Including recording the enforcement order
Yeah.
and what else?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, going to court, I'm sure that's another option.
Yeah, I mean, you got civil
been-
action, you got, yeah,
We have been more than patient.
we have.
So, when we're coming up on a year, that's, I'm not happy about that. Okay. Anything else on that, on your continual business? Okay, land management update warrant poll. We will talk about the CR at the next meeting. Hopefully we'll have hopefully we'll be there. We're almost there. I want to let you guys know the hay is gone from the barn. It's gone. It's been delivered to the town compost facility at Sunny Meadow, so it's all done. So the
Nice.
barn is looking good. It's cleaned out. Steve Mayott's really pushed that. It's looking good. Next on the agenda is
I just want to add, Carl, that, so I don't know if I mentioned this to all commission members, though, that after Martha Pohl passed away, that it said on the commission's webpage that donations could be made in her name to the commission. So the commission received a total of $800 in donations in Martha's name. And Carl just sent out thank you notes to all of the people who.
Good.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Yep, very nice. Update on the Coolis site, the Coolis property, Mr. John Swenson.
Like I say, I said earlier, everybody wants the 6.5 acres, and we're trying to keep that open agriculture. We've been getting a lot of pushback in just little ways. And it's, people are asking questions, can the town actually do this? I said to Paul, you gotta check with town council and see if you can rent this. It was acquired with CPC money. It's meant for agricultural and conservation. Can we let Western Nurseries start a laydown yard? Okay. Can we let the other people that want the wildlife thing, can we let them? They got an extensive plan.
Yeah.
I mean, a building, they're looking for 2 acres of the property. And the property is not all that conducive, okay, to what everybody wants, okay? So the town is cleaning it up.
Yeah.
The house is ready to come down, I guess.
That's supposed to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's what they said. But I think there's some legal issues
Okay.
that gotta be clarified, and the town's gotta do the survey and map out the wetlands. So all these people aren't grasping at straws to where they wanna place a laydown yard.
Yeah, and David, you made a request for a wetland survey.
Yes, yes, so,
including the lot on the other side. too.
yes, on Hunt Road. So I believe she was out doing the ones on Pine Hill yesterday. I asked her if she could do the one on Hunt Road as well under the original proposal. She said basically maybe, but she'd get back to me.
Okay.
So haven't heard from her.
Okay.
So what we need is clarification that we're now gonna start leasing property that the town owns to private entities.
Well, we do that now in other places, but
We do
not quite the same.
agricultural.
Yeah, right.
Agricultural, they have the greenhouses.
Right.
They have Phil's compost dump. Okay? Henry's got the hay fields at the end of the street. Okay. These are parcels that they want to invest $400,000 on building pickleball courts. Okay? Requires parking, pavement, plans. You gotta have the plan of the land before you even start any of this conversation. I mean, Casey did a beautiful job on the thing for the animals, right? And he's just going off of town GIS. He's not going off what we actually come up with. So there's a lot of people that want to put a lot of stuff on that one piece of land. And King Phil's been doing his trails, and he's doing a great job. They've cut down some trees. It looks a lot different up there.
Sure does.
I was there today, and I looked, and it looks a lot different.
Yep.
And it's gonna look good in the end. But the end result is, are we gonna have a field of shrubs and trees that from Western Nurseries? We're gonna have an animal hospital? Them are all legal questions.
Yep.
I don't think we can answer them.
No, that's
And
CPC, the Community Preservation Act has requirements. That has to be
Requirements.
understood and either meet it, or if you don't meet it, then,
well, like the pet cemetery.
yeah, no.
Paul came right out and told me, you can't have a pet cemetery, you can't have any type of cemetery with money from CPC.
Okay.
Okay? So what we're gonna need is clarification before, this is getting blown out of the water,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Thanks, John.
See that?
Thanks, you.
The pet cemetery movie.
The only other thing I wanted to add on to land management, We have, we're still chasing Oxbow on some things, and the MOUs, I still have to spend some time with costs on that one. I haven't done that yet. I did meet with the NEMBA guys last week at Russell Mill on Saturday, and they've made an offer to fix the roof on the shed. This is the shed on the front lot up by the parking area, and they said they've got some ability to make that happen. So I'm going to connect with Phil on this because that's what we call the Conservation Native Plant Park or something like that. I forget the name of the park, but that shed's been, I looked at the roof and it looks like it's about 50 years old. So they're trying to do some help, and they can make that happen. So we'll look at that. I think that because it's a building on our property, on conservation property, it's up to us to okay that. I don't think there's anything, help me out here, but, if it's covered by insurance, he said.
Just a building permit you might need.
Yeah, okay, good question, good point, yeah. They think it'd be done in the morning, it's just a little small, like a, small shed. The shed's in decent shape. I think there's probably an opportunity for like an Eagle Scout project to do the rest of the shed, because the rest of the shed's needs some fixing, but I know Phil has told me in the past they don't climb ladders, so don't have them do a roof. But if we could do the roof, and then they could go to town on the rest of it, something like that. That might be a good way to make something happen there, so I gotta connect with him on that. And then, David, you had a extension for an OOC, is that?
Yes,
conditions?
but I think, first, can we talk about the proposal to remove the trees? Do you
Oh,
want-
I'm sorry, I jumped right over that, yep.
That's okay.
Yep.
Next to 94 Meadowbrook Road, there's a parcel of conservation land. I at first thought it was Crooked Spring, but I gather it's not. It doesn't have a name. So there are, the commission actually paid for last year, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, the commission paid for taking down some large branches on a large willow tree on the conservation parcel. The abutting property owners were really worried they were going to come down, which was a legitimate concern. They could potentially really cause a problem. So the commission did pay for taking down those branches. Now the same homeowners want some additional work to be done. In particular, that willow, they want the willow tree to come down entirely. I guess it's really taken a beating.
This is the same tree that had a limb taken
Yeah,
off?
so I can bring up a photo.
You've been out there?
I have been, yes. But
Chris, can you see this from your house?
Probably. I think it's very close. I'll actually probably recuse myself because I think it's a stone throw away, to be honest.
Here we go. So this is the willow tree
Oh, yeah, I
that
know.
they're asking. It does look like it's in really bad shape.
And we're assuming the fence is their property?
Yes,
and
yeah,
marking it?
that's the property line. So it clearly is on the commission's property. And in addition, they want to know if the commission, they'd like the commission to pay for 3 ash trees. So this also on the town's land. So this number 1 here, this is the willow. Then there are 3 ash trees. So that's 3,900. And then I just understood that there's a 5th tree as well that they'd like to come down, which I think I think is another ash tree. Let me just confirm that.
So while he's looking, we are looking at a increase in our 2025
Fiscal
budget?
2025.
I've talked to Paul about this, because we keep getting hit with this stuff, and so we are probably gonna have a bump up just to cover, because this is just chewing up, every year we're getting hit with these.
How did this morph into our problem?
It turns out, if it's on our property, it's always been our problem, and historically, it just, for some reason, we were still paying for it, we didn't always know it.
Paul was paying for it.
No, he wasn't. He said he wasn't. He said it was coming out of our
In the
budget.
beginning, when we first taken these people coming to us and asking, and Paul said he would pay for this.
I remember that.
But it was always
money.
the
It's not
commission's money.
It was, as I'm understanding it, it was coming out of our budget. It was-
From one pocket to the other.
He's okaying out of our budget. I don't know. That's where we're
That
at.
wasn't a premise that was sold to us.
Yeah, okay, well.
So added to that request is an additional tree for $400. So it'd be a total of $4,300 actually. And the commission does have the money splitting between the annual appropriation account and the land maintenance fund. They're
Starts to get us down to almost nothing.
It
And
does
we have-
get us down.
Especially with the hay bales that we just, we're gonna get an invoice for that as well.
Right, but I mean, there's most of March, April, May, there's only 4 months left in the fiscal year when we'll get it replenished. So I think in the spirit of being good neighbors.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad to see we're gonna have more money next year, because we just chew up. We have a lot of land in town that's conservation land, not just our reservations, but this is just one of our, properties that is unnamed.
Well,
And we have a lot of that, and we get a lot of people saying, hey, your trees are gonna take out my swimming pool or my fence. And you have to do it if it's not just really being a good neighbor, but you kinda have to.
Well, and it's not just the commission. Christine told me that by September of last year, so that was July, August, 3 months in this year's fiscal budget, the DPW tree removal budget was down 75% already.
Yeah.
By September. It's just
Yeah. So
climate change or whatever you want to call it.
We're going, I think, from 5 to 15, so.
Yeah.
That'll give us a little
Be a
room
big
to,
help.
hopefully, I mean, who knows what the weather brings and whatever.
Cut down more trees.
But, I hope not, but, yeah, I'm just going by the last few years.
Falling down.
Yeah, the last few years.
Where you
Well,
look.
that's the problem, is when they fall and they do damage, now you get even
Yeah,
bigger.
they're
Could be
falling
different
everywhere.
problems. Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve the, it's 4,300, not 3,900, so approve the payment of 4,300 to Iron Tree Service to remove trees from the adjacent conservation lot to 94 Meadowbrook Road. So a motion from Mark, second from John.
I got one
Oh,
question.
Sorry, I thought you were second.
How are they getting the bids for this stuff?
Well,
3 bids from.
no, they're not doing that. But I mean, it's cheap enough so that it's not violating Chapter 30B. It's not
Okay.
violating the state procurement law. Yeah, maybe someone could do it cheaper, but, based on my experience in this town so far, not much.
This is pretty consistent.
I mean, we got Arbor East, We got several-
I've seen Iron Tree around.
Iron Tree.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
they're a
this is.
conglomerate.
You're recusing?
Yeah, I'm recusing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
John? Is Peter on still?
Yes, Peter's gone.
Is he gone?
It appears to be, yeah.
Okay, so there's still 4 of us. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion
Abstain.
passes. And 1 abstain, so. Okay, thank you very much.
So, yeah, there is
Order
one
condition.
last, second item for approval is a request for an extension to an order of conditions for 24 to 32nd Lane. That was issued on March 25th, 2021, so that's coming up for expiration right now. Apparently, it hasn't been started. The applicant is Patrick Larkin, and my understanding is he hasn't started it, but, so that's why he's requesting an extension.
Okay.
Move to approve the extension.
Motion from Chris.
Second.
Second, Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, motion passes. It's a good thing, because Chris has already signed it. And we have meeting minutes, January 9th and January 23rd.
No, I'm sorry, we don't. I just put those on there so I wouldn't lose
Oh,
track.
we've had them.
Oh, have you?
I think, I'm pretty sure, Vivian, I thought you sent them both.
You know what, I'll take this.
Yeah, it was a February meeting, so I haven't
I
done.
like those orange ones.
My apologies.
Yeah, I told my wife, I said,
I'm sorry. No, we do have, we,
Okay.
well, let me, are you guys
My
prepared to vote on
apologies.
them or not?
I didn't print them out here.
Okay, we'll do it next time. We'll do it next time. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Motion from Chris, second from
Second.
Bill. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, Chelmsford Telemedia. Good night.